Hello everyone, welcome back. In our today's video, we are going to be discussing about the autonomic and the peripheral nervous system. Now first let's discuss about what is autonomic nervous system. The word autonomic means independent. So the autonomic nervous system is going to be functioning independently and continuously without our consciousness. So all the activities which are going to be controlled by the autonomic nervous system are involuntary actions. Autonomic nervous system is also known as the vegetative nervous system or the visceral nervous system. So the reason why the autonomic nervous system is known as the visceral nervous system is because it is going to be controlling all the visceral organs. So what are visceral organs? Visceral organs are nothing but the organs which are located in our body cavities. So our internal organs are only known as the visceral organs. So in our thoracic cavity, we have the lungs and the heart. So thoracic cavity is your chest region. Then in our abdominal cavity, stomach, liver, kidney are all going to be there. And then there is one more cavity which is known as the pelvic cavity, which is in your hip region. So in the pelvic cavity, the reproductive organs and the urinary bladder is going to be present. Now the autonomic nervous system is divided into two. One is the sympathetic system and the other one is the parasympathetic system. The sympathetic system is also known as the fight or flight system. And the parasympathetic system is also known as the rest and digest system, or it is also known as the feed and breathe system. Alright, so why are they named like this? Why is sympathetic nervous system known as the fight or flight system? So let's check it out why it is called so. So the sympathetic nervous system is going to be helping a person to combat emergency situation. The sympathetic nervous system will prepare the body of a person in order to face the emergency situation. Alright. And the parasympathetic nervous system will get activated when a person is going to be under resting conditions. So when a person is going to be resting, the visceral organs are going to be controlled by the parasympathetic nervous system. Now one thing that we need to understand here is the sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic nervous system are going to be controlling the visceral organs, but their functions are going to be different. The functions which are going to be played by the sympathetic nervous system is different, and the function of the parasympathetic nervous system is going to be different. Okay, so the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system are going to be functioning antagonistic to one another. So what is the meaning of antagonism? The word antagonistic means opposite. Alright, so whatever activities are going to be performed by the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system will be doing just the opposite of it. So I will give you an example for your better understanding. Now, if the heart rate is increased by the sympathetic nervous system, the heart rate will be slowed down by the parasympathetic nervous system. So, I hope you understood how they are working opposite to one another. Now, let's take a look at the diagram where you will be able to understand how the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system are going to be controlling the different visceral organs. So, the first part which you are seeing is the eyes. So, during the resting condition, the parasympathetic nervous system will constrict the pupil. So, what is the meaning of constrict? The word constrict means to narrow down. Alright. So, the parasympathetic nervous system will constrict your pupil. Pupil is nothing but a hole which is present in the center of your eye. So through this hole only the light will be entering into your eyes. Alright, so during the resting condition, the parasympathetic nervous system will narrow down the pupil. Then the parasympathetic nervous system will act on the salivary glands and it will stimulate the process of salivation, that is the production of saliva. And then during the resting conditions, parasympathetic nervous system will slow down the heartbeat, and then it will also constrict the bronchi of the lungs. When a person is resting, the parasympathetic nervous system is going to stimulate the process of digestion, and then it will also stimulate the release of bile from the liver. And it will also stimulate the intestine to complete the process of digestion, and it will also regulate the contraction of the urinary bladder. So these are the functions of the parasympathetic nervous system on the various visceral organs which are present in our body. Now let's take a look at the sympathetic nervous system. So you know very well that the sympathetic nervous system is going to be getting activated during emergency situations. So during emergency situations, what are the changes which are going to be brought into our body by the sympathetic nervous system? Let's see. So the sympathetic nervous system will dilate the pupil. So what is the meaning of dilate? Dilate means it will widen up the pupil. The next thing is the sympathetic nervous system will inhibit the production of saliva, and then it will dilate the bronchi. During an emergency situation, the sympathetic nervous system will increase your heart rate. So the reason why the sympathetic nervous system increases your heart rate is because you need a lot of energy in order to fight against that situation. Alright, so for you to get energy, more amount of oxygen is needed. So how is oxygen going to be going to different parts of your body? It is through the blood, right? So the heart is going to be only pumping the blood to different parts of the body. So only if the blood is getting pumped to different parts of the body, every cell will be supplied with oxygen. So that is the reason why the sympathetic nervous system will increase the heart rate, so that all the cells which are there in your body will be able to get more amount of energy in order to fight the situation. Now the next thing is the process of digestion will be inhibited during an emergency situation in order to conserve energy. The next thing the sympathetic nervous system does is it will activate the liver in order to release more amount of glucose. Actually, liver is going to be having the stored glucose in our body. So when there is an emergency situation, this stored glycogen, which is the reserve food material, will be converted into glucose. Then the sympathetic nervous system will also stimulate the adrenal medulla. What is this adrenal? Adrenal is nothing but the gland which is located just above the kidney. It is an endocrine gland. So it will stimulate the adrenal gland to produce epinephrine and norepinephrine. So these two hormones will also help an individual to face the situation. So here also in the intestine, the process of digestion is going to be inhibited during emergency situations, because I told you in order to conserve energy only all these things are happening. These are the changes which are going to be happening inside your body during the resting condition and when your body is going to be facing emergency situations. So now let's go on to discuss about the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system consists of nerves which are going to connect the central nervous system to various parts of our body. Peripheral nervous system consists of two types of nerves. One is the cranial nerves and the other one is the spinal nerves. So if the nerves are going to be arising from the cranium, then those nerves are known as the cranial nerves. And the cranial nerves play a very important role in controlling all the voluntary activities of the body. So all the activities which are controlled by the cranial nerves are going to be happening with your consciousness. Alright, and in case of human beings, there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves, and these 12 pairs of cranial nerves are denoted by Roman numerals from 1 to 12. Now let's move on to the spinal nerves. So spinal nerves are the nerves which are going to be arising from the spinal column. Based on from which part of the spinal column these nerves are going to be arising, they are grouped into 5 different types. Alright, so now first before that, let's take a look at the different parts of the spinal column. So as I told you already, the spinal column is divided into 5 parts. The first part is the cervical, then we have the thoracic, then it's the lumbar, sacrum and the coccyx. So these are the 5 different parts of the spinal column. So if the spinal nerve is going to be arising from the cervical region of the spinal column, that nerve is known as the cervical spinal nerve, and human beings have 8 pairs of cervical spinal nerves. The next is the thoracic spinal nerve. Thoracic spinal nerve is going to be arising from the thoracic region of the spinal column. So there are 12 pairs of thoracic spinal nerves. The next spinal nerve are the lumbar spinal nerves. This is going to be arising from the lumbar region and it has got 5 pairs. The next is the sacral spinal nerves. There are going to be 5 pairs of sacral spinal nerves and it is going to be arising from the sacrum region of the spinal column. Then the last one is the coccygeal spinal nerve. The coccygeal spinal nerve is going to be arising from the coccyx region of the spinal column. So there is one pair of the coccygeal spinal nerve. So if you add up all this, you will get 31 pairs of spinal nerves. So there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves in case of human beings. So I hope you understood what are the functions of the autonomic and the peripheral nervous system. If you have any doubts, you can leave that in the comment section below. Thank you.